and let go of it.
I guess they're content with how they are.
That's what defines them.
So,
Because they've done it so long. Like the way I learned it, your brain molds into things depending on what's going on, like happiness, depression, and then it takes a lot of time to kind of mold it back to something else.
100%.
So when a person has been depressed for such a long time, or anxious, or whatever it is, how do you? Some people unfortunately become used to it, and anything else becomes weird and something that they may not enjoy, or something that's shocking to them. How do you start, or how do you approach a person like that?
So I want to start by just turn back for a second to what we said, that most of the maladaptive behaviors that we see are not, even drug use or self-harm, are not because people don't want to be well, not because people are bad or stupid, or it's an effort to deal with what's so difficult for them to deal with. And sometimes it's all they know. That's what they're doing, the best they can with what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the best they can with what they know. And for many people who this is what it's been for so long, there's this fear of the unknown. There's this fear of what will be. Can I really get better? Right? What will life really be like that? And why do I want to try something that I know I'm going to fail, because I failed so many times before? Right? I'm going to let everybody down. It's not even worth it. I'm going to try. It's going to go great. And then no, I can't do that. Or it's my sense of identity almost. Like, this is who I am, and people care about me because I'm struggling. And if suddenly I was like, just like everybody else, who would I be? But really, that comes more from this fear of what's going to be on the other side of that, and how do I go the distance, right? And therefore, it's sometimes easier and more comfortable. Many of us are like that, right? That the evil we know is better than the evil we don't. It's easier to shove out past it. I'm not going to do anything. As miserable as it is, the idea of having to go the distance and work through it is so terrifying, and so we rationalize and we say it's okay. And the truth is, sometimes we can't force anybody to do anything. We can provide those resources and get them there, and we have to figure out different ways to sort of edge them towards change. Nudge them towards there, because the goal would be to get them there where they're ultimately owning the decision. Even if you're doing a lot of that work and helping it, but you can't dictate to somebody else, because the more that you're going to say, well, here's what you have to do, the more they're going to rationalize and argue with you why it's not so. You're going to give them all the reasons why, what do you mean? You tell me that this is what you like, but you cry yourself to sleep every night. You tell me always how terrible it is, how, your kids hate you, how, whatever it is, your wife left you, yeah, but you know what? If I have to be one of those other guys, they're going to give you all the reasons why they want to stay like that. And sometimes it's just as easy as like, if this is how you're content, then we have to accept you where you are. What can we do to help you where you are at now? And even so what you tell me is that really you're okay and you're happy the way it is. And they'll respond, yeah, but I mean really, I guess, it would be nice if I had a place to live. We'd have to figure out how to give it back to them and get them to the point that they're recognizing it. Because really, they know, and they want change. You have those moments, those same people tell you how great it is to be miserable. Also have those moments where they tell you how great it would be to not be.
I think that they're scared.
A lot of it is fear. Again, each person is that individual. But we so often come into it, well, that's what you want to be, so fine. How do we, again, learn to accept, learn to meet people where they're at, learn to make them feel that we're here for you. We're not dictating, we're not telling you what to do, we're here for you. And with that, yeah, obviously we'd like to see you healthy, we'd like to see you well, and we'd like to see you happy, and we'd like to help get you there. Tell me this is where you want to be. Okay, then I'm here for you as you need. As you need me. But as soon as we get judgmental, that's what they know. And then that knee-jerk reaction, you think that I'm going to, motivate them. Fine, then I'm out. But the knee-jerk reaction is so many people done that to me before. Okay, you're just like everybody else.
People are afraid of success, not fear. Failure they know. They will fear the worst. Success is new.
You're familiar with.
You just stick with what you know. It's success. If you always succeed at that, you never get it wrong.
I've had people who say, that their fear of it is that, if I do well, then they expect me to do well. Even a kid in school. why should I do well and work hard when I don't do well? They don't expect much. I get rewarded for not doing well. I get a pension for not doing well. Yeah, I'm getting taken out. I get the rewards, for the same thing that everybody else is doing. I get extra research. I get all the good things. Right? So, where's that motivation to do it? Again, there's a balance. We have to figure it all out.
It's also a fear of failures. In other words, I will succeed, possibly. And then the high likelihood that I'm going to fail again, which is just reinforce the fact that I'm a failure.
Yeah.
So why would I even get out of bed and have, give it a go and maybe even be successful, and then know that I'm going to fail, because I know I'm going to fail.
But what happens if we change that? If that
That's the hard part to change.
You'll fail, and that's also okay.
That's right.
At what point does it become that that's okay? Meaning, when do they get the message that you're a failure because you failed?
From childhood.
From childhood, from whatever it is that developmental stage, the successful people, the most successful people that we know in the world in history, failed. All they ever talk about is how many times they failed. My kids love to quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Whether that was Gretzky or, Michael Jordan is an argument, but, right, if we don't try it, but they're so used to that if I fail, then that defines me. I mean, even within, right, Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam, that's not it's a definition. You could only achieve greatness by facing failure, because we learn from that, and we grow from that, and it's okay, and it's human. It's a human condition. But if I'm so terrified of that, if that's all I know, if that's, what's defined me until now, then it allows people to define me rather than an all or nothing. Okay.
What if you muted it?
Right.
Yes, I muted it.
So I'm just going to jump into the Narcan training. That was a big part. Unfortunately, we're at this stage. We like to talk a lot about some of the other things because it really needs to be relevant for everybody. These are real problems that exist. Whether it's the substance use that's really growing with the legalization, or the alcohol misuse amongst teenagers, and the depression and anxiety, the mental health issues that people don't want to address. Alongside this, what we've also seen is a real rise in, unfortunately, the abuse of those harder substances as well. And where it starts, our growth that's certainly integrated in our communities, where we're dealing with somebody here earlier who said he's Narcan 30 people in the last year, and not somebody who's particularly in the field of Narcan. It's not an EMT, but yet this is a real thing. Something that I talk to the teenagers that I work with, and I've asked, how many guys have died from my high school class? I was trying to figure it out. Zero. You're not supposed to have kids at your age, at 19, 20, 21, being going to funerals every week. This is an unfortunate reality. So what we're going to do is just go through a little bit what Narcan is, the idea that there really is this opioid epidemic, both in the country at large, the world at large, but really, more importantly, amongst our own community, where it's real. And Narcan is something that can really make a real difference. I had a girl who came to a Narcan training that we had done, and she was a girl, but no history of substance use. She didn't know anything. The rest of the group was really people that were in that. There was a specific thing. She said, I heard about it, I decided to come. And I know my brother's involved with different things, and I don't know what he's using, but she came. We were sitting there for fun. She called us about a week or 2 weeks later that she had come home, and her brother overdosed. And she said, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew exactly what was happening. I knew exactly what to do. I didn't freak out. I was able to give him the Narcan, call EMS, call Excella, and really save his life. So it's really a tool that we have that can really make a difference, and it's so important that we get it out and get people there to really be able to utilize it and hopefully save lives. Unfortunately, opioids have become a big crisis and are everywhere. And so what are opioids? We're going to go through a little bit of what are opioids, what is Narcan, what does an overdose look like, and how can we administer Narcan. So opioids essentially are pain relievers, and now this includes prescription painkillers. It includes, not every opiate overdose that we think about is that, heroin addict on the street corner with a needle in his arm. Unfortunately, many of the opiate abusers are prescription painkillers. They may have gotten it in a very legitimate, legal way. But essentially, painkillers block our pain receptors, so we don't feel pain, whether that's physical pain, like the toothache or a broken arm, or that emotional pain. It's able to block that and can cause these feelings of euphoria and contentment and a certain level of detachment. They typically stay in your system for up to 6 hours. And what they do is they relax a person and eventually cause the breathing to slow and eventually stop, which is what an overdose is. Some of the common opiates are not your typical heroin, but some of the regular things that we get, hydrocodone, oxycodone, Percocet, they're all opiates, as well as fentanyl, which is a big one, which we'll get into in a second. It's really